Hey there everybody, and welcome to the first ever Q&A session with yours truly, Justin Archer, aka The Posture Guy, your #1 source on pain, posture, and performance. And if you can't tell, I am just giddy beyond belief because I have to tell you, my favorite part of whenever I do presentations, whether it be in person or online, is getting to the Q&A. Don't get me wrong, I love to teach and give information, but I know there's people out there in the audience just like I am when I'm in the seats and I'm listening to a presenter going, all right, I just want to ask my question and I want to get the answers to my questions, because although I'm sure just like me, we all love content, context is more important. We want to know, how does this specifically apply to me and my unique situation? Or at least I know that's how I feel. I'm assuming there's plenty of others out there who feel the same. So, and I just love getting into the Q&A with people. So I think I'm going to be doing these, maybe once a month, just some regular questions that I'm hearing. If you want to write in and ask me a question that you'd like to see me answer online here or evaluate your posture, please feel free to do so. You can email me, call, send me a YouTube video, messenger pigeon, whatever you think is going to work best for you to get across the question and the information you think I need to answer a question. Send it my way, and I'll present it here, of course, with your permission. All right? So for this first Q&A session, I just want to start off with really 3 questions. We'll keep it simple. The first one, a lot of people like to save the best for last. I want to do this one straight off the bat. It's from a reader. They wish to be anonymous, so we'll respect that. No names here. But they ask, it's kind of a 3-parter, so I'll read it, and then we'll kind of break it down into parts, all right? They ask, how can I stay motivated to do the exercises that I believe I should when, number 1, I hate exercise of any type. It's just something I have to force myself to do, which is even harder because, number 2, it just seems to take away from something else I should be doing, in parentheses, the time pressure issue, and, number 3, very thorough, by the way. Number 3, I just am not seeing much in the way of results, even though I've been working at this, in parentheses, okay, admittedly off and on, end parentheses, for 7 months. I know I've been standing, sitting, walking, and everything wrong for 40-some years, but how long will it take to get back to normal, in parentheses, no pain? I'm discouraged, and when I get that way, I give up rather than redouble my efforts. It just doesn't seem to make enough of a difference, at least not in the amount of time I have to give. That's the whole question, all right? And the reason I love this question is, and it's funny, I actually did a short little video today, which I'll link up to. It's called a video. It's a short 30-second video. And it really touches on this because as someone who helps people get themselves out of pain through the use of exercise, I'm often asked questions about exercises. Which exercise should I be doing? What order should I be doing them in? Am I doing this correctly? Where should I feel it? Etc., etc. Exercise, 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 exercise. And yes, it's true. I use exercises as a tool to help strengthen and stretch in parts of people's bodies so that their posture can realign and they can get out of pain. But I'll let you in a little secret. It's not all about the exercises. It's how you breathe, what you drink, what you eat, how you move, how much sleep you're getting, the quality of sleep. I'm trying to think of all the others. How you work, how you sit, how you drive, how you play, what you think, what you feel. And I'd say most importantly is what you believe about what you do. So to put it another way, she mentions here on point number 1, I hate exercise of any type. It's just something I have to do to force myself to do, which is even harder because, and then so on and so forth. So just in that first point, I think that there's both a physical and a mental/emotional reason why this person hates exercise. Number 1 is I've never met someone who hates exercise whose posture is properly aligned, and there's good reason for this. It's really because if your body is not aligned and you're bringing your body to exercise with poor biomechanics, you're having to do much more work than that's really necessary in order to accomplish whatever exercise, whatever movement you're trying to accomplish. So it'd be like saying, if you had the worst, functioning car, and to get it started, you had to kick the tires 3 times and then pull some other gear and get it rolling and do all this. you wouldn't look forward to driving because you don't have a good or even decently functioning vehicle. And so now driving turns into a chore. It's something you have to do. Well, we as humans, right, we basically make decisions based on emotion and what we believe about those emotions. So we're either going to do something that brings us joy or avoids pain, and or discomfort or annoyance or anything really like that. So if you're forcing yourself to do exercise that you don't really want to do, and also step back and go, do you actually believe that these are the exercises you should be doing? Are they moving you closer towards your goal? You know, if that's pain relief, better functionality, ideally both. If you don't believe that and you aren't looking forward to them, you know, and again, physically they may be hurt or they're very difficult to do, then I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to do the exercises either. So it's, again, understand it's the physical body you bring into the exercises. That could be why exercise, and I'd say could be with a emphasis on usually, is the reason why you're hurting. And then number two is the mental and emotional approach that you're approaching exercise with. And I understand too, there's some people that, you know, like exercise more than others. I'm probably one of those people who I like exercise. But I'll tell you what, there are days, ask my wife, that I will wake up and I dread doing my exercise. Most of the days I love them and I look forward to them. But there's days where I'm like, I don't want to do foot circles and point flexes or lay on my back for half an hour with one leg out. And, oh gosh, I got other things to do. Which kind of goes, you know, into her second point, which says, you know, it just seems to take away from something else I should be doing, the time pressure issue. And trust me, I felt that myself. And here's what I do, is I always, you know, we all have our reasons for being here on Earth, or if you want to say our purpose, and what we're here to do to serve, you know, fellow mankind and help out. And I believe mine is to help people get themselves out of pain, live healthier, better quality lives. Well, I know that I have to take the time to take care of myself so that then I can help care for others. If I don't, if I put myself last, then eventually my body's going to wear out, break down, I'm going to get sick or have constant chronic inflammation and not be able to serve you and all the other posture guys and gals to the best of my ability. So don't feel guilty for taking the time out of your, you know, busy schedule to do the exercise you know you should be doing. Because when your body's functioning properly, when you're in proper alignment, you're going to have way more energy and you're going to be much more productive. So again, don't feel guilty for taking the time that, you know, is yours. Another thing I remind people is, you know, we are human beings. We're not human doings. You know, it's very easy, especially I think in American culture, to constantly be, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Sometimes you don't have to do anything. Once a week, I spend an hour or 2 hours doing the supine groin progressive position, or otherwise known as stretch, on the ground. And guess what? I spend literally an hour, 2 hours just laying on the ground in a certain position, if you're familiar with that exercise. And guess what? The earth does not spin off its axis. You know, everything keeps going, you know, another day happens. So it's okay to take time for yourself and understand that not only is it okay, but it's really necessary if you're going to keep doing the things for, you know, your friends and your family and other people. All right. Moving on to the third point, I just am not seeing much in the way of results, even though I've been working at this, in parentheses, okay, admittedly, off and on for 7 months. I know I've been standing, sitting, walking, everything wrong for 40-some years, but how long will it take to get back to normal, in parentheses, no pain? So, you know, she mentioned here that she believes that she's, you know, probably had some poor biomechanics, which had led to poor posture, you know, for the past 40-some years. And she's been working on it off and on for 7 months. Now, off and on can be interpreted many different ways. It could be, you know, a few days a week, a few days a month. I don't really know for certain, and I'm not going to try to pretend to know. But consistency really pays off. You know, there's a video I'm going to link to below this video, which is one of the first ones I made, which is why your why is so important. I believe that was the title. And it goes into, you know, it really hits home with basically this three kind of step question that this woman asked. about being consistent and everything. And I mentioned earlier, there's days when I get up and I don't want to do my exercises. You have to have, well, number one, you have to make a change in your life, okay? Number two, you have to be consistent in that change. So if it's doing exercise to better yourself, okay, you got to do it each day. You can't be on and off. On and off just doesn't work. It's like trying to swim on and off. If you've never swam before and you're like, I'm going to put one foot in and try to swim, or just put one hand in, you got to jump full board into the pool in order to learn how to swim, right? Well, exercise therapy, corrective exercise is the same way. You got to go full board here. And like I said, I understand, days not wanting to do your exercises. That's why you need to have a compelling enough why to keep you going. Now, my why, part of it, it's kind of two-part. One is for myself. I want to be healthy. But really the biggest reason is I want to be the health-wise best version of me possible all throughout my life, so I can better serve and help my friends, my family, you guys, all the posture guys and gals out there. Even though my wife and I don't have kids, my future grandchildren, I look at it as it's my responsibility, even though I'm not a parent yet, to be a good parent, and even though I'm not a grandparent, to eventually be a good grandparent, to have the highest quality of health that I can and bring that into my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, etc., etc., etc. All right? So that's my why. By all means, feel free to steal those whys. If you have your own, all the more power to you. Just make sure it's something that's strong enough that will overcome, some of those days we wake and go, ugh, I don't want to do my exercises. Like, this is so annoying, and I got to spend half an hour or an hour or, God forbid, an hour and a half. That's what I did when I first started this, each morning doing exercises to get out of pain. But I guarantee you that if you're consistent, you stick with it, the end result is going to be worth it. You just got to have that strong enough why to compel you to do so. All right? So, and then she finished up by saying, I'm discouraged, and when I get that way, I give up rather than redouble my efforts. It just doesn't seem to make enough of a difference, at least not in the amount of time I have to give. Last but certainly not least, what I would advise, this woman and anyone else in this situation to do is, find a shoulder to lean on and some support. That's why I'm trying to build this community here of posture guys and gals that, you can talk amongst yourself in the comment section below, call, email, tweet, send me a YouTube video. That's why I'm here, is to help you, stay accountable to yourself, offer advice, whatever I can. Definitely get some help. We all need help at times, and it's okay. All right? So I always remind people that, we're a team here. You're not alone. You can come with me with any questions, comments, concerns, and I'm going to do my absolute best to help you in any way I can. All right? So I know that was a long explanation going through question number one, but I want to actually move on to a second one, which is actually a gentleman by the name of, and if I mispronounce this, I apologize, but it's, I believe, Fabrice Lepere. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at names, even American names, unless it's like John Smith. But he actually sent me some photos in to evaluate, and he's having some trouble, some cervical pains on his left side. And he had actually emailed me before, but once he sent me the photos, it was very apparent as to what was going on, what was causing his pain posture-wise. So what I like to do is we'll cut from this video feed here, and I'm going to have you, so you can kind of look over my shoulder, see my video screen, my computer screen, excuse me, see his posture, see the photos that he sent in, and he said that was fine, and thank you for that, because I know a lot of people learn a lot here from viewing these photos. And then I'll show you basically through my eye what I'm seeing and what's causing his pain, and then we can hopefully, give Fabrice some suggestions of exercises and what he can do to start to correct his posture to get him out of pain. All right? So I will see you in just a moment on the screen. All right? All right, and we're back. If you can hear me but can't see me, I'm the little guy down here in the corner, or wherever I happen to put this video box when I go to edit it. And this handsome gentleman is Fabrice. Fabrice, thank you for sending the photos. He also, along with it, sent the following email. Justin, we have been exchanging a few emails back and forth already, but I thought you could use my symptom for your Q&A. I've been having cervical pain, especially when I lightly press at the bottom left side of the back of my neck. Per your request, I'm including some pictures so you can better evaluate and give your opinion. I hope this helps. Thanks, Fabrice. The pictures definitely help. With postural alignment therapy and corrective exercises, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So thank you, Fabrice. So I want you to take a look at, I have these photos and then I have some that I've kind of made some edits to. But before we get to those, just look at this first photo of Fabrice. And again, he's having left cervical pains. So right here, kind of probably where the trap and the neck meet. And looking at this first photo, I want you to think, why do you think that is? What do you think is causing it? And again, just looking at his posture. And I always tell people, when you're evaluating your own posture or a friend or family members, look at whatever jumps out to you the most. You know, little things may be off, but what really jumps out to you as like a red flag? And I know for myself, what I first saw when I opened up his photos from the email was that, oh my gosh, he's wearing this left shoulder like an earring. You know, it's significantly higher than his right. And you can even see here in his trapezius muscle that it is significantly more developed and more taut and tight than his right side. Okay, so that's number one. And that's really the biggie. But then we have to pose the question to Fabrice and to ourselves is, well, why is that happening? Why has that muscle become chronically tight and causing him pain? Because contrary to popular belief, a muscle doesn't just tighten up just to piss you off. You know, there's always a reason. And if you look at the rest of his posture, it starts to tell us, you know, why is this muscle doing what it's doing? Well, it's compensating for his other load-bearing joints that aren't vertically stacked and aren't functioning properly. So what I mean is, let's pull up these other photos. You know, here's his front. Obviously, same picture. I just put in some red dotted lines to kind of help key you in onto what I was seeing. So like I mentioned, his left shoulder is higher than his right, but look, so is his left hip. His left hip is higher than his right. As a result of that, his spine from his belly button to his sternum kind of had laterally shifts to the left, and then from his sternum to his nose, or basically what would be the back of his head, takes a lateral shift to the right, and you can see that there by the dotted line. His head's even kind of slightly tilted. So that right there, that lateral shift, is definitely going to cause what you're seeing here, that left shoulder being higher than the right. Also, look at the difference in the length of how his arms are hanging. That's another cue that one shoulder is higher than the other, is look how this hand is hanging compared to the right. But also look at how it's rotated. What I mean is, look at this right arm, right? That's the side that doesn't hurt. So you can see the thumb and the forefinger. That's ideally what we want to see on the left side. Well, look at the left side. You could start to see more of the back of the hand. That tells us that that arm is internally rotated, that the muscles on the front of the chest, the front of the shoulder are rotating and pulling it inward, and the muscles responsible for externally rotating it or keeping it back have become in a weakened or lengthened state. His legs, not too bad. Got a little bit of adduction going on here where the legs come kind of closer together, but not bad at all. But you can also see by these arrows I've pointed out, his knees and feet are pointed outward. All right. Ideally, they should point straight ahead, as if we were viewing the picture, they'd be looking straight at us. All right. Now, if we compare back views, kind of the same thing we saw from the front, just kind of verifies that, right? We got that lateral shift here of the spine, of the torso, what we call thoracic offset. Same thing with the hips and shoulders, left side's higher. So nothing, really different here. Now let's look at the right side. Let me find the right side here. Here we go. And ideally, all the load-bearing joints, and by load-bearing joints, I mean shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, and the ear, even though the ear technically is not a load-bearing joint, should be vertically stacked. So there should be a plumb line running from his ear to his ankle and going through all, his shoulders, hips, and knees. Obviously, there isn't. From the ankle, the knee is in front of the ankle, the hip is in front of the knee and the ankle, and then so as not to fall forward on his face, his upper body compensates by doing what we call sway back. It moves backwards to kind of give some semblance of balance, and then once more to kind of create some sort of of balance or equilibrium, if you will, his head and shoulders roll forward, and that we can see there. That also puts the trapezius, those neck muscles, in a tightened position. It also compresses the lower back. So Fabrice, I don't know if you're having any lower back symptoms, herniations, pinching of any nerves or anything, but if you do, that's probably why. So that's the right side. Now if we look at the left side, and this is a very telling picture here, all right, kind of the same thing going on, where the hips are bailed forward and the shoulders and ankles are kind of behind everything else. But the reason I put this arrow here from his left shoulder is look at his back here. See how you can see more of it compared to the right side, we can see less of it. Well, the reason is because his left torso is rotated forward with his left side forward. So he's rotated left to right in his thoracic or upper body. And I think it's that rotation along with this lateral shift, this offset here, that's really the key component, the main cause of what's going on in his neck. There's some other things. Obviously, we want to get the hips even down. We want the knees and feet to point straight, and we got this shoulder to come back. But I think that's really key there, is that thoracic offset combined with the thoracic rotation, all right? And so what I'd advise is doing the routine I put together for thoracic offset and thoracic rotation. So I'm going to link to that down in a link below this video. And Fabrice, try it out. And I would say give it a good week or two of consistently doing it each day. There's only 4 exercises in there. You can do them more than once per day because I think it should only take you probably about 10 to 15 minutes to go through the exercises. So you can do it 2 or 3 times per day if you want. And then, let me know how it's going and if you need any further help. And same thing goes if, you're looking at Fabrice here and going, wow, my posture is pretty similar to his, and maybe you're experiencing some of the same symptoms, then, this will probably work for you as well. All right. So thank you again, Fabrice, for sending these photos. It was very helpful to us, to me, and all the other posture guys and gals, and hopefully it helped you out as well. All right. Stay tuned. We're going to go back to the camera and answer one more final question. All right. See you soon. All right, and now time for the grand finale, the third and final question of the day. This is one that, quite honestly, I just had to scratch my own itch. I've been asked this question 3, I think maybe even 4 times this week, and when I'm asked a question that often, I know that I need to answer it online for everyone to hear and see. All right, so here it is. When you have a chronically tight muscle, doesn't matter where it is in the body, it could be your neck and trapezius muscle, kind of like Fabrice, could be your hip flexors, your butt muscles, piriformis, etc., etc. It doesn't matter where. But let's say you have a tight muscle, and you and your, whatever practitioner you're working with, whether it's a chiropractor, active release technique guy, postural alignment therapist, whatever, you're trying to decipher, is the muscle tight because the muscle is short and tight, or long and tight? A lot of people get confused, and if you're confused right now, you're not to blame. I really think it's how we, the health professionals, are phrasing that question, all right? Because I know the last person I talked to about this, I explained it, and I said, did that make sense? And they said, well, kind of, but also not really, because how can a muscle be long and tight at the same time? And I said, all right. And I thought of, okay, here's a better way to phrase it. Is your muscle tight because it's short and tight, or long and taut? Okay? Not long and tight, but long and taut. So what you have to understand too is a muscle does not tighten up, contrary to popular belief, just to piss you off. It does so for a reason. It's usually, some part of your body is dysfunctional, or it's compensating for another part of your body. And that's why the muscle acts accordingly, and you'll feel it as, man, this thing is always tight, and whatever I do doesn't seem to loosen it up. Now, usually when people say that, whatever I do, it's usually I try to stretch the ever-loving you-know-what out of it. In the client of mine that I talked to most recently, it was his hip flexor, otherwise known as iliopsoas or psoas. They attach from your inner thigh bones, go through your pelvis, and attach to either side of each vertebrae of your lumbar spine. A very important muscle. has amazing tensile strength. It's very, very strong. It's really what enables us to walk upright and kind of move around like we do as humans. It's one of my favorite muscles. Anyways, so, you know, he was trying to determine if his psoas, especially his right one, felt tight because it was short and tight or long and tight. And again, when I described it to him at first, he didn't quite understand. I said, okay, what if we say long and taut? And he's like, all right. I said, think about this. If I handed you, you were helping me move, right? I'm moving out of my place, and I handed you a box that weighed approximately 50 pounds, and you held it close in towards you, right? Because that makes sense. You don't want to hold it out here, you hurt your back. You hold it in tight. Well, if we were moving a long enough distance and you kept on just holding it, standing, you would get tired, right? Because your muscles are contracted. Like just now in this position, I know my biceps are contracting, my pectorals, anterior shoulders, right? I would fatigue, and then afterwards I would put it down, and my muscles would be in a short and tightened position, okay? That's short and tight. Long and taut would be if you took that same 50 pounds of whatever I handed you, wrapped a rope around it, and then hung it over a cliff, right, or a balcony, and you were hanging onto that rope with outstretched arms. Well, you're hanging on, you're still using your muscles, but they're long and taut rather than short and tight. All right, that's the difference. Now, usually, how you can determine which one you are is you can usually divide the short and tight and long and taut muscular people or tight muscle people into two different categories or demographics. The short and tight are usually going to be people that are more physically active, you know, athletes and everything. So, for instance, if this morning or yesterday you did 100 push-ups and you're feeling tight in your chest and in front of your shoulders, there's good reason for that. You did 100 push-ups and these muscles are in a short and contracted position. And probably stretching them would be the way to go, and you will feel relief of that tension, all right? But now say, for example, you're someone who lives a very sedentary lifestyle, and you have a 9-to-5 job, and you sit behind the desk, and you notice, man, I'm really tight in my hip flexors, and I'm also tight, you know, in my rhomboids, the muscles between your shoulder blade and your spine. Well, it's not that you're doing really that much activity, but your muscles have become in a lengthened and taut position. Imagine, you know, here I'm on my computer and I'm reaching forward. Well, these muscles now are in a lengthened state, and if I do this from 9 to 5, not even towards the end of the day, probably towards midday, I'm going to be like, man, it's super tight back there. Well, it's not because I've been doing shoulder shrugs and pull-ups and things like that. It's because those muscles are doing all they can to stabilize my arm in this position, so it literally just doesn't, like, you know, fall off or lose control. It's holding it kind of up there and out there, and that's why they get tight. So again, short and tight, usually you're going to be more the athletic type, very active, working out. Long and taut is you're going to probably have a more sedentary lifestyle, not moving around a lot. And another way that you can definitely test is, you know, a lot of people, when they have tight muscles, they just want to stretch the ever-loving you-know-what out of them. Well, if you do, say, five minutes of stretching, maybe for either side, and you have a significant amount of relief, not just short-term, but long-term for the remainder of the day, then yeah, your muscles are probably short and tight, especially if you're someone who's more athletic. But if you're someone who's more sedentary, and you've been trying to stretch those muscles every which way for minutes and maybe even hours a day, and you're not really getting anywhere, you've been trying this for days, weeks, months, in some people's cases years, then let me offer up to you a different approach. You don't need to stretch. If anything, the stretching is further exacerbating the problem. You need to restore balance to your body. So you probably actually need the opposing muscles of what you feel stretched. They need to actually strengthen, get your body in proper alignment. So then that muscle that's long and taut, that's, you know, out here, can come back and relax and return to its normal length and tension, right? A rubber band just sitting there has a nice tension. But we start stretching it out and more and more and more, and, you know, what happens when you stretch a rubber band enough times, right? It gets even looser, and its tensile strength becomes less and less and less, and then poof, it breaks, right? Which obviously we don't want that happening to any of our muscles in our body. We don't want any muscle tears. So hopefully that further, or not further, but explains to you the difference between how to tell the difference between whether your tight muscle is short and tight or long and taut. All right. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this Q&A session. If you have any questions yourself about anything we went over today or any new questions, please leave them in the comment section below. You can also call, email me, tweet me, you know, pick your poison. And I will gladly feature them in the next Q&A session. All right. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you inside the next video. Until then, take care and keep moving.